Welcome along then to another big match build-up show, and after a crucial win on Wednesday night, it's given us some feel-good factor and some 3 points that'll go a long way towards safety. Although, of course, we are not out of the woods just yet. And this weekend could not be harder as Saints head to Old Trafford to play Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's unbeaten Manchester United. So, completing this week's trio of preview shows, it is slightly different in our first half as we come to you straight from the pub and just shortly after the full-time result as Saints had beaten Fulham only an hour before. So my apologies if it sounds a bit distorted, noisy in places. I've tried my best, but I guess that adds to the authenticity, if you like. But anyway, we do bask in the Wednesday win, contemplate maybe a shock result at Old Trafford also. And as for the opposition, I do find out why the dramatic turnaround in fortunes for the Red Devils as I chat to the enigma of the United stand.
It's a tough game, but it's a game where we're not expecting to get anything. If we go there and get a point, it's a good result. If we go there and get a win, let's get an open top bus around the city. You know, it's a tough game, but it's a free hit.
And I would imagine against Southampton, regardless of the injuries, we would be looking to try and win that game. I think you'll see United trying to move the ball quickly from back to front and pressure you on the ball. And that's pretty much Ollie's way of playing and playing out from the back.
As usual, now then, the episode is available to download in the card above my head if you're watching on YouTube, or available on most audio platforms below the show. And do stay tuned then for your bite-sized away guide for Manchester United. And of course, do let us know how you feel ahead of the weekend. Do you agree with any of Nick's early comments? A free hit this weekend? No, we got to try our best, in my opinion. Anyway, time now to head back to the pub for our first half of our Manchester United versus Southampton big match build-up show. Right, so welcome along then to this first half of this Manchester United big match build-up show. Nick is finally here. You finally give me some time, but we're here after the Fulham game as well, so fresh in the memory this time round. And I suppose let's start on the top from the Fulham game, right about an hour ago. 2-0 victory, much needed relief. The anxiety, the nervousness of tonight. We got the 3 points. That's all that was needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we went out tonight looking to get 3 points and take ourselves out of the relegation zone, and that's exactly what we did. Late on, we didn't push forward as much as people hoped, but we got the result, and that's been our problem all season. We've been 2-0 up, and we've given it away. So now we're out the bottom three. We can move forward, and obviously Manchester United is not the easiest game to go for next.
So the fear was there at half-time, though, wasn't it? So many times this season we've seen ourselves go, into a lead, 1-0, whether it be 2-0, whatever it was, but we always thought the fear, Fulham would creep back into the game. Yeah,
but the fear is there because of the number of times we've given away 2-goal leads. To be honest, we played better at Arsenal than Fulham played tonight at St Mary's. We look more likely to get a goal back at Arsenal at 2-0 down in the last half an hour than Fulham did at St Mary's. So it's all about panic and it's all about perception, as I've always said. But tonight we kept a clean sheet, which is a good bonus. We saw the game out and we won in 3 points, and that's it.
So there's a couple of bonuses already. We were actually seeing out a lead. In good spirits though, mind. 2-0, a clean sheet. And, there was also question marks who would be at the back tonight. Obviously, in your preview, you said you went for a 4 at the back, but it was a 3 in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people say to me sometimes that I've got something against Yoshida or Stevens. I've got nothing against Yoshida or Stevens other than how they performed for Southampton Football Club. Tonight, Yoshida came in and gave a virtually faultless performance, and kept a clean sheet, and that's good enough for me. There's no one else better to play in there at the moment, so I support them, Yoshida or Stevens or anyone who pulls on a Saint shirt to do it.
Seat back in.
Yeah, but good performance in the back. now we've got to go and do it at Manchester United. I said it going into the game that this season will not be defined by defeats to Cardiff or Fulham away. It will be defined by or defeats at Arsenal. It'll be defined by beating Fulham tonight. It'll be defined by beating Huddersfield at home and beating Wolves at home.
Or somebody else.
Anyone. And we've beaten Fulham. We need to beat 3 other teams. Manchester United on Saturday is going to be very difficult, but it's another free hit. If we can go there and get a point, it's a bonus. If we can go there and win, it's about, here we go.
Well, I suppose let's not subscribe too much to a free hit, but I mean, based on tonight's performance, we saw maturity, we saw composure from the back line. People will say to me just in the pub over there, Vestergaard's perhaps the man of the match tonight.
Yeah, he perhaps wouldn't have been mine, but I thought Højbjerg was. I thought Højbjerg had it all in midfield. What's concerned me over the last couple of weeks, after we lost to Cardiff and after we lost to Arsenal on Sunday, a lot of people went on about Hassons. Is the honeymoon period over? We've lost 2 games. And in reality, the only game that went against form was losing at home to Cardiff. Going into this game today, Ralph Hasenhüttl has got 1.25 points per game, which over a season would have, if it has been there at the start of the season, would have seen us up on level pegging with Bournemouth, probably now above Bournemouth on a season-long basis. It would have seen us 2 seasons ago sort of in 7th-8th place on 1.25 per game. Ralph Hasenhüttl has done a great job. We're always going to have some bad results. Every team does. Laurie McMenamin's team got murdered many times. Ronald Koeman's team got murdered on a couple of occasions. People forget the season we finished 6th. We went 1-0 up against Liverpool in a League Cup quarter-final. Maybe it's 6-1 at home, 5-1 at home. Teams get murdered sometimes. But overall, Hasenhüttl has come in, done a good job, worked with what he had, and we've got it forward. So I don't care about transfer windows because no one who left in the transfer window really played under Hasenhüttl, and he's still got results with that squad. He's got a result tonight. So going forward, we can go forward. We've saved our money. It could be said we wasted 20 million a year ago in the January transfer window. We've saved our money. We survived this season. We're stronger going forward.
And I guess the clamour really was about the expectations on our strikers as well. Obviously Femi ruled out for the rest of the season this week with a long-term injury, hamstring. His posture is in question, but we started with Austin up top tonight. He was hooked off. The only change I actually mind, it was Shane Long replacing him. Only one change tonight as well. But goals across the pitch tonight. Oriol Romeu, Bance, popping up with a goal from himself first of the season, and James Ward-Prowse really coming into him, a key player for Ralph at the moment.
Yeah, Obafemi is a good case. The loss of Obafemi for the rest of the season was greeted the loss of Obafemi was greeted with, prior to tonight's victory, like it's doom and gloom. Obafemi had played, I think, 25 minutes at Huddersfield under Hasenhüttl and 20 minutes at Arsenal. He wasn't a big part of what we've done this season. I'd have obviously, it's like anything, I'd prefer, you want a squad of 25, you want a squad of 5. You want as many good players as you can. But Hasenhüttl has achieved what he's achieved without Obafemi. And although it is a blow that he might not play to the end of the season, it's not the end of the world. What we've achieved so far has been done with Shane Long. We won Shane Long 3 points at Leicester. We wouldn't have got without Shane Long. Charlie Austin, winner against Arsenal. It's a squad game. We'd all love to have someone in there scoring 20 goals this season. We'd all love not to concede goals, but we can't, so we've got to drag out results and we'll do it.
Do you think the expectations were far too high on an 18-year-old to bang in some goals?
I don't think it's the expectations on an 18-year-old. It's the sheer desperation to want someone to bang in 18 goals. But we've now got Ralph Hasenhüttl has got 18 points from 13 games. and you can't really complain about that. That is a good record, and it's a better record than he had when I did the stats earlier before the game. It's positive going forward. Brighton are a side very much in the position we were last season. They're in free fall. They're on the same number of points as we were at this time last season, and they're dropping like a stone. So we can go forward very well. Yes, Charlie Austin ain't getting a lot of goals, but he'll get you goals. Shane Long will get you goals. Again, not many, but they'll get enough. Danny Ings will come back towards the end of the season. He'll get you goals. Nathan Redmond, great player.
All right, so, I mean, obviously the weekend, Manchester United to come at Old Trafford, a big game in the circumstances, you know, but the belief is there, you know, obviously Man United undefeated under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I suppose we can expect some rotation at the weekend. Obviously, a few changes tonight. Yoshida Bertrand returning back to the matchday squad, or even the first team 11.
I mean, it's a tough game, but it's a game where we're not expecting to get anything. If we go there and get a point, it's a good result. If we go there and get a win, let's get an open top bus around the city. You know, it's a tough game, but it's a free hit. You know, I'm afraid it is a free hit. All the games against the top 6 clubs are free hits, and if you get something out of them, it's a bonus. If you lose, that's what everyone else does.
Well, cue the clamour for those disagreements for that free hit. Can you rack them up for a? Can you rack us up for a score prediction?
Yeah, but first I'll say cue the clamour for it's a free hit. We're not a top 6 side. We're expected to lose at Old Trafford. It's like at Arsenal. Everyone has clamoured the fact that we lost at Arsenal, a side that had won 10 of their previous 13 home games and had only lost to Manchester City on the opening day of the season, and subsequently have slaughtered Bournemouth tonight. Yeah. And people are complaining that it's not a free hit, or what are we doing? So, prediction for Saturday. I'll tell you what, I think we'll get a draw.
Happy with a point?
Happy with a point, yeah. If we get a point, we'll celebrate it long and hard, because the point will be there. If we get a win, I was going to say I'm going to dance on the Old Trafford pitch naked, but I'm not going to do that. Right. But there we go.
Good to see you, Nick. Thanks, mate.
Good. Cheers.
There you go then. Cheers, Nick, for eventually finding some time to speak to us this week. But what are your predictions at home? Do you agree with Nick's comments about a free hit? I'm not too sure. Let us know in the comments. On to your bite-sized away guide now then, if you're heading to Manchester on the train. It is a long one, but I am pleased to announce, delighted to announce even, that there are no planned engineering works or bus replacements for this weekend. That's a bonus and feels like a win already. But when you do get there, though, it is a little known fact that Manchester United is in Salford and away from Manchester City Centre. So a bus, taxi or tram is required to get to the football ground. And of course, there are a wide selection of pubs in town for you to choose from. But if you're after something a little closer to the ground or nearby, it is useful to know that a lot of the nearby pubs do not accept away fans. So it is best then to head to Salford Quays, which is about a mile away, a 20-minute walk from the ground. And I hear that the Lime Bar in Salford Quays has good beer, quick service, and one recommended away pub for sure. And there's also the Matchstick Men pub on the other side of the quays, so that you can pop in there for a pre-match pint. Anyway, there are some recommendations for your away pubs at the weekend. Be good. But on to our second half as we find out everything to expect from the Red Devils. So welcome along then to our second half of this Manchester United big match build-up show. And on the line, we've got the enigma from the United stand, Mark Goldbridge. Really good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know about enigma, but I am good. Yeah, it's very interesting at the moment. I'm very intrigued as to why Southampton are where they are, because I do rate the manager you've brought in, and I think you've got a good set of players. But also, we've got our own issues at the moment. So a game that I think maybe 2 weeks ago I would have thought, it should be a straightforward win. I think it's up for grabs because of the desperation for yourselves and the injury crisis we've got.
Well, that's the first question on my list, I suppose. You know, with 10 injuries, at the time of the recording. Who knows who's going to play against Palace? Obviously, this is a small disclaimer. We are recording on the Tuesday before kick-off. So, you hinted at it in your live video just recently. Who is expected to be fit at the weekend?
I would say that players that you should be concerned about, Herrera definitely won't be, Matic won't be, Mata won't be, Lingard won't be, Martial might be, Rashford potentially as well. So, it's just the sheer volume of the injuries. I don't like moaning about injuries because you will have injuries, and Arsenal have had injuries and Spurs have had injuries who we're competing with. But the reality is you can't move away from the fact that we've got a best front six and only one of them is fit at the moment, and that's Paul Pogba. Fortunately, being a club like Manchester United, you won't get any sympathy because you have got people like Alexis Sanchez, who is the best player in the league, and Lukaku to come in. But I think it makes us more beatable. So for yourselves and anyone who's playing us over the next couple of weeks, it certainly gives you probably more of a chance than maybe you thought you did have.
I suppose at the recording as well, something dramatic could happen at Palace, but, you're absolutely flying at the moment, unbeaten with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since December. The difference is so dramatic. Jose Mourinho loved to park the bus. Does Ole know what park the bus even means? Can you nail down a sort of style that Solskjaer plays?
I think Solskjaer wants to move the ball quickly from the back to the front. He wants to press the opposition. It's not foreign to Southampton or anybody else really, because we see City do it, we see Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs. Everybody tries to do it in their own different guises. We didn't. You were right. Mourinho never did do it. Funnily enough, Ole did do it in the second half against Liverpool on Sunday, where we were so decimated we couldn't make any subs. We were tired, so he did use the sort of 4-5-1 and sort of just closed the game off for Liverpool. So I was quite impressed with that because it shows that he can adapt. But effectively, and I would imagine against Southampton, regardless of the injuries, we would be looking to try and win that game. I think you'll see United trying to move the ball quickly from back to front and pressure you on the ball. And that's pretty much Ole's way of playing and playing out from the back.
And I'm sure you see other clips that do the rounds on the social media as well. Perhaps the clips that so I suppose popped up whilst it was at Mulder, absolutely laying into the players on the training field, screaming, shouting, effing and jeffing, But I suppose Sunday it had all the hype of a main event, boxing match, pay-per-view, but very much an anticlimax in the end, I suppose, due to the circumstances of the three injuries.
Yeah, I think, look, it was disappointing as a United fan because I really wanted to get at Liverpool with our best 11. And I know, there's no right to say that because, as I said, injuries can happen. But it was disappointing because Liverpool are our biggest rival. They're going for the title. I wanted to beat them. And it just didn't happen. And I suppose a lot of people would have been wanting to watch that game as well. And, at least as a United or Liverpool fan, you're emotionally involved. But as a spectacle, it was absolutely not disgraceful, just really, really disappointing. And even though we got a draw with the team that we had, I was still disappointed. I think Liverpool were quite happy with it. But yeah, it's just one of those things, really. And we just got to crack on. But yeah, it wasn't the game I hoped for.
I suppose in these circumstances as well, it was a real test for Solskjaer. Only sort of Tottenham that you've played in the top six, and the other teams obviously quite far down the table. Obviously decimated Cardiff from the first game, but looked very comfortable and for the most part of the results.
It's interesting as well because really our home form, we have beaten teams at home with Ole, but we drew with Burnley at home. And that was sort of like, how did that happen? And then obviously the Liverpool game, we've had the injuries, but we lost to PSG. So we are a better team away from home. And I think that's a legacy of Mourinho, really. I think he never really got to grips with the Old Trafford crowd and playing the United way. And I think we've got a bit of a hangover with that. So it'd be interesting on Saturday how Southampton approach the game, whether they're looking for a point, because that's a good point, or whether they think maybe there might be something more in this if we're more expansive ourselves. Because I think that United, we're obviously more than capable of beating teams like Southampton and Bournemouth at home, but I think we're a better team away, to be honest.
It sounds like you got a degree of trepidation about Saints' visit at the weekend, but obviously all the headlines about Paul Pogba, reborn under Solskjaer recently, involved in 15 goals since he's arrived and scored 9, assisted 6, and that's only come in a dozen or so games.
It's really refreshing with Pogba because there are some United fans who were thinking maybe he should go. He's a fancy Dan and he's not really that good. Myself, I just felt that I didn't think people were going to be proved wrong on that, but I felt that if you play him in the right with the right manager in the right system, you'll get the real Pogba. And I think he's exceeded even what I thought was going to happen as a fan as him. I think he's now looking like one of the best midfielders in the world, whereas people were thought, maybe he's one of the best brands in the world. He can't fulfill that. So, yeah, I think he's a subject of the system that Ollie's brought in, and he would certainly be our biggest threat. But my concern is, as with PSG, and of course it's even worse now, if you stop Pogba, do you stop Manchester United, especially with all the injuries we've got? Because it's not like you can look at Martial to win it or a Lingard or something like that. If you stop Pogba, it's the unknown, because you've got Lukaku, Sanchez, Pereira. Can they step up to the plate?
I suppose that's another question as well. A big reputations, Lukaku and Sanchez, big transfer fees, big wages. What's happened to those two? They've gone very much on the radar, not really producing the goods recently.
No, well, it's, and I think you've got to be very careful as a United fan not to act spoiled, because, we were just talking before we came on there about Southampton, and you've not got a striker, and I'm sure you'd walk over hot coals to have someone like Lukaku or Sanchez to play up front, whereas as United fans, we're like, oh, get rid of them, they've not been good enough. So, I've got to be a little bit careful there, because there won't be much sympathy for it. But Alexis Sanchez, best paid player in the league, and it's just, I don't know, I don't get it. He just seems to have this fascination with playing on the left-hand side, but it doesn't work. Lukaku, a lot of people call it fat. It's not fat, he's just bulked up. I think he said he bulked up for the World Cup for some reason, and he's not bulked down, and I think it just makes him a little bit slower, and when you're a player that's quite clumsy with your first touch anyway, it overemphasises that, and I think he's lacking confidence. I mean, Lukaku's a 30-goal-a-season striker. He's done that at Everton and West Brom. So I think there is a good player in there. I just think they're both struggling for different reasons. And if I knew why, I think we'd be all right.
Well, I suppose Lukaku, if he's on form, I suppose he would strike fear in the heart of Saints defenders. We seem to be struggling with bullish centre forwards at the moment. But I suppose you could say, if Lukaku gets any bigger, he could push Kenwa for the biggest player in the entire football diamond.
It is remarkable.
Ladder.
It is remarkable. But yeah. I mean, obviously we've got to be careful, because being fattest and all that, I don't think he is down Greg's and everything. I think he is just bulked up, like he's going to have a fight with Anthony Joshua or something. It just doesn't make sense. He just needs to lose a couple of stone of that muscle.
Well, I suppose what it is as well, at the weekend it spells 10 games to play to the end of the season. I suppose, what is your objective? You've actually you've made up so much ground since Solskjaer has, come in, closed the gap tremendously, well within a chance of qualifying for the top four. I mean, what is your objective, I suppose, and for Solskjaer for next season? And you hinted on it, I suppose, in your recent live video.
I want Solskjaer to be the manager. I think that I'm surprised I'm saying that so soon, but I think what he's done as a United fan, you look at things that have happened off the pitch, the removal of Fellaini, you look at the way we're playing football, which is what we want to see. You look at the results, you look at the way he composes himself, the positivity. For me, I'm one of those fans who I can take 3 years of development if it's development in the right way. I think we've tried the quick fixes with Mourinho and Van Gaal, and it's been the wrong football. So for me, I would give Solskjaer the job. Aspirations, I think I'd be disappointed if we didn't get top four, but I must remind myself that when he took over, it was mission impossible. I think we were 11 points off fourth and playing bad football. So to get us in the position he's got, it is great. And I just hope I would take fourth place now. I think that for me would be a massive achievement, yeah.
And I suppose that's what Jose Mourinho died by. He said it was mission impossible to collect top four, but that quote has now since been squashed as well. And I suppose the final one as well, mate. I mean, how much have you seen of Saints this season? What do you worry about our visit at the weekend at Old Trafford? What would you say the weaknesses are that Saints could well exploit?
I think it's just the nature of being a Manchester United fan, is that I probably wouldn't watch much of Southampton, and that's not being arrogant or anything like that. I haven't. What I would say is I am quite surprised at the position, but then when we were talking before, if you haven't got a striker, I've seen it before, teams go down, they're good teams, but if you can't put the ball in the back of the net, you can be a bad team with a really good striker and they can get you out of trouble. So maybe I'm not so surprised. I think the manager that you've brought in, it's this difficult one, because we've seen it with Solskjaer, and I think a lot of the injuries are down to the fact that Mourinho teams were lazy and pragmatic, whereas Ollie's teams are, energetic and intense. And I think that's caused a lot of muscle injuries, because halfway through a season, it's hard to go from that to that. I don't know how you're finding that, but I know that your manager is very much about intensity in the press and stuff. So I think that if you dropped a striker into your team, you'd move up the table. I mean, look at Newcastle at the moment. They looked down and out, and they've started to find a groove. And it comes from goals, doesn't it? And I look at your last few results, and you're not really getting thrashed. It's always by the odd goal or a 1-1 draw. So it's not like you're clearly not far off like a Cardiff who just seem to get smashed every now and again. I just think it is just that thing, the old cliche that if you haven't got someone to put the ball in the back of the net, you're going to struggle.
Absolutely, and you know, is the team, the intensity as well has been magnified since Hasenhüttl's been in as well. So Saturday, what's your prediction there, mate?
I'm going to go Manchester United to win it 2-0, only because you struggle to score goals. I think if you were scoring more goals, I might have said a closer 2-1 or maybe even a 2-2. I think United is such an unknown quantity with all these injuries, and a lot of the players we're relying on have been out of form this season. But I just think the Old Trafford crowd is a different crowd under Ole, and I think we've got a different manager, and I think he will go for it more. So I fancy. I don't think we'll smash you 3 or 4-0 because I don't think you're that sort of team anyway. With all due respect, I think maybe 2-0, maybe 2-1.
All right. Well, there you have it then, Mark from the United Stand. Just I suppose remind our viewers, listeners, if they want to get involved and watch your reactions and everything else on the internet.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on the United Stand. So yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, pal.
Thank you once again then to Mark Goldbridge from the United Stand for speaking to us this week. Be sure to check out their YouTube channel for all of your United needs. But that does complete this week's trio of build-up shows. I'm off for a well-earned rest after the weekend for a day or so, but we will be back next week for our Tottenham preview. Thank you very much for watching and listening along. One thing left from me is come on, you Saints.